Ready to go?
Yep.
Let's do it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the What You Don't Hear podcast. This is a 15-minute Friday where myself and a returning guest sit down one more time, but this time to talk about a specific topic or subject with the goal of sending you into your weekend or your upcoming week with some, I don't know, dare I say positive, actionable, or thought-provoking advice and opinions. That makes sense?
Say it. Say that.
I think I said it. I said it.
Yeah, say that.
It's out there.
Dare to say it? You said it, my friend.
And you're hearing his voice returning back on the show.
Yes, sir.
Once again, my friend William Fairbanks. Welcome back, my friend.
You got to put like a studio applause. Like a studio applause. Yeah, just throw it in there for me. Yeah, back like we never left. What is it, like 3, 4, 5? How many times have I been on? A lot.
A few. This is like 3 or 4.
3 or 4.
Three or four.
Nice. This is beautiful.
I think.
Feels good.
I'm just glad that you are always down to continue coming back on the show and talking to me.
I enjoy talking to you, Ross.
And now, even though we've done this a handful of times, and I've done 15-minute Fridays many times, something I continuously forget is that I'm supposed to have a good old stopwatch out. I got to have a timer for this.
We just went.
And
I know editing was like...
We went. But I think the people realize at this point that, like, a lot of these 15-minute Fridays are like 25-minute Fridays,
Facts.
you know. But I like to, we'll keep them 25 or, less is the goal. In effort to keep this one around our 15-minute limit.
Yes.
Will, what are we talking about this week?
We're talking about never lowering our bar, lowering our standards, lowering our shine, all that good stuff.
I'm ready to hear what you have to say about this one.
Okay.
Because I'm excited. So here we go. 15 minutes on the clock. Time is running out. What do we got? What are we talking about when we say never lower your bar?
Okay, so a lot of times in life, you can find yourself in situations where people are asking you to come down to their level. Our situations are asking you to come down to a certain level, right? And a lot of those times you have every reason to go down to another level. You don't want to say it's a business deal, right? And someone's like, oh, I can't afford you. Talking about lowering your standard in that, lowering the bar in that. And you'll be like, well, I might need this paper. This might be an opportunity. People sell this to me all the time. They're like, yo, it's a great opportunity. I'm like,
classic.
Like, okay, that sounds cool, but this is where I see myself, and this is where I'm going, right? Another example, you don't want to go through the confrontation, or you don't want to go through butting heads because somebody has said something, or there's a situation, and you're kind of like, oh, I just don't want to deal with it, You're going to lower yourself at times, right? I've discovered that it's never worth it. It's always better to go there, right? And live without fear, because a lot of the times when we lower ourselves, or lower the bar, or lower the standard, it's because of doubt, it's because of fear, it's because of, laziness oftentimes, right? I've discovered that when you push yourself and you say, no, I'm going to stick to my guns, I'm going to stay where I'm at, you oftentimes rise to the occasion, and what else happens is everybody else around you starts to understand and treat you as such, right?
Yeah.
I go around all the time, I'm like, yo, I'm a king. And people be looking at me like I'm crazy.
We've talked about this before.
We have talked about this before, and I still feel the same way on record. You know what I'm saying? Yes. I still feel I'm a king. Just right there, it's like, yo, I'm staying there. You know what I'm saying? I've gotten looks. I've gotten sneers. I've gotten scoffs. What? I've got people laughing about it. You talk about this all the time. And I'm like, yeah, that's because that's my standard. You know what I'm saying? And when I project that and I put that at the forefront of my mind, I rise to that occasion, right? I think about all the things that come with having a high standard, right? And another thing, like as of late, right, it's been some time since we sat down and chatted. I was talking to a friend, I was talking to my girl, I was talking to somebody about it, and I think it was my girl. I was telling her I went through a phase of getting no's recently, a lot of no's, right? Because I ain't gonna hold you. The DM's been flaring up, right? Everybody in the DMs, yo, let me get a joint, let me get a piece, which is a beautiful thing. I thank God for it, right? But what's funny is they're like, oh, I want that. Can we work together? And then they ask me my rate. And then they're like, oh man, I'm gonna holler at you. I'm gonna get at you soon.
Always
right?
the turn of the conversation.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time. Not every time, but
A lot.
right? And recently I've brought my prices up, right? I felt, well, I wouldn't say necessarily pushed to drop my prices, but I've thought about it, right? Because it's like, oh dang, you gotta get your paper, get to the paper. What's more important?
Is that, not to cut off your flow
No, go
of this,
for it.
but like just to dig into that, like is that because you feel like, to even fit with the title of the show, like is that because you feel like you're seeing enough options of like, oh man, there's enough people hitting me up that are kind of telling me I should lower my bar that I guess maybe I should. Like, does that confidence piece almost switch where it's like, okay, I'm seeing so many of these options, like you were saying, like I got to get the paper, I got to, you know what I mean, I got to make the money, and if this is the option, is that just what I should cater to? Like, is that where some of that comes from? Like,
It does come from that, but then at the same time, what I'm noticing is that now I'm getting through that phase, and now there's an understanding. And it's like, yo, don't go to Will unless your bag's looking like this, right? And it's worth it, right? And that's another conversation that I've had to have with myself. I'm like, yo, William, you could lower your prices, and you could get quantity. You could be booked every single day, right? But what I've learned in the past, this is a lesson that I've learned getting to where I'm at, is that oftentimes when you do that, the product suffers, the quality goes down, right? So there's a reason why my price is where it is, right? I'm not living in a mansion yet. You know what I'm saying? I'm not there yet. The bread's not going to that. It's going to the production. It's going to my time. It's going to my focus. It's going to my standard, right? Back to the whole the point of today. I'm digressing. As long as remember the reasons for your standard, right? The reason for my standard of not lowering my price or where my price is at is because there's a trajectory on which I want to go, right? I intend to be one of the dopest filmmakers my generation, right? That's my standard in my mind. And to get there, to have the right quality or the right level of production, it takes a certain rate, it takes a certain budget. And my skill set is there too, right? So I'm a little bit more confident of not lowering my standards in that, right? And just the people that I kick it with, right? My friends, Ross, standard, right? Standard. You see what you're doing, right? And what's another thing that's crazy is that when you have high standards and you keep the people around you that are at that standard, you tend to win. Right? Everybody that I kick it with, everybody that I talk to, winners. Right? Birds of a feather flock together. Fact. I can't lower myself. You can come to where I'm at because it's all love up here. I'm not preventing you from being around me, but you got to come a certain type of way. You have to behave a certain type of way. You have to move a certain type of way. And at the end of the day, it's got to be centered in love. Right? That's my highest standard. It's always got to be centered in love.
yeah.
Yeah, so.
Okay, let's dive into that a little bit more because I love the idea of, it's like we can talk about never lowering your bar when it comes to business and creative and career goals.
Right.
I want to dive into never lowering your bar when you figure out where you want to place your bar in life.
Okay.
Because I feel like that is a thing that is always going to be changing. You know what I mean? Your bar is always going to be moving, right? Because we're always evolving, we're always growing, we're always learning new things. And I feel like every handful of months or a couple times a year, really, I feel like I raise my bar, right? Where I'm like, okay, this is the new standard of what I want to experience. This is the new standard of the people I want to be around or what I want to share or get from or give to those people around me. So let's talk a little bit about figuring out like the idea of never lowering your bar when it comes to life, because I feel like it's very easy to have the bar at a quote unquote comfortable level.
Right.
And it's like, you know what? This is fine. And I'm not saying that that's wrong.
Right. Different strokes, different folks.
Exactly. But it's very easy to have that bar kind of at a low setting, and then you're never going to find those growth opportunities, or you're going to find a lot less of them. And again, You can do whatever you want. You don't
Right.
have to always want to grow and change and evolve and try all these new things. But I do think it's important, even in the tiniest ways, to identify where that bar is. What type of relationships are you having? And I'm talking friendships, relationship, whatever. Like, what type of relationship do you have with yourself?
Right.
Where's your self bar
I love
being
it.
set?
Exactly.
You know
That's
what I
a
mean?
real
Like
thing.
they're like that main bar of life has several bars beneath it that all kind of equal up and raise or lower that bar. So walk me through that. Like what's your like mindset or frame of mind when it comes to setting that bar in life itself?
Man, a big part of me setting that bar is prayer and being like, Lord, where do you want me to be? Right? Because then from that, I get visions, I get thoughts, I see myself, right? I see the house that I want to live in. I see the body that I want to have. I see the books that I want to write, the productions that I want to put together. I see them, right? And then it's all about putting in that work to get there. You know what I'm saying? I always talk about it right now. I have a wonderful girlfriend, right? I have wonderful relationships. I have wonderful friendships. I have a wonderful career that I'm steady building. You have to be that person, though, right? If you want good people around you, you got to be a good person, right? One of the reasons why I keep a lot of healthy people, a lot of my friends are trainers, because when I get around them, I'm like, okay, they always saying something, and it's not necessarily condemning, but it's like, all right, let me work. You know what I'm saying? You looking good. Let me work. I'm trying to look good, right?
Yeah.
And when you have that mindset, you start to live a little bit differently. And don't get me wrong, I know that it's hard because society, social media tells us that it's easy, right? You see it all the time. Take this pill and in 30 days, you're going to be the finest motherfucker in the world, right? Lies, right? I tell people all the time, you can do it. It's hard, but you could do it, right? That's standard. My standard, at least. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, the standard, people often say, not often say, but sometimes people can look at it and say, oh, well, your dreams are lofty, all right? And sometimes even from where I'm from, people look at where I'm at now and they're like, dang, you doing it, Will, right? First of all, I'm nowhere, right? But at the same time, I am moving. It's a journey, like you said. One thing how I view life is about checkpoints, right? My ultimate standard is going to continue to rise until I meet the Father. Like, it's going to continue to go up, right? We talked about it on our very first episode. The moment you stop growing, you begin to die, right? So I'm always pushing the bar higher. All right, Will, you got you've reached this point monetarily. All right, Will, you've lost this much weight. All right, Will, you're spending this much time in prayer. How can we push that up? All right, well, you've made these many connections. You made this many, like you've expanded your network this much. Who else do you need to meet? What else do you need to do, right? But a big piece of advice that I would give people is understand the time that we live in, recognize the lies, because social media is a production. Always remember that. Social media is a production, right? And I'm all for it. But just make sure that your standard is matching that production, because it's easy to live a facade these days. It's easy to be hollow. You know what I'm saying? When you really get to the frame, it's like, oh, this is empty, right? So remember to keep your standard for yourself high, thoroughly, right? Always be thorough. Always be honest. Always be a person of integrity. Be patient. Right? Because all these things come with time. All these things and the standard, right? Let's get back to that. Is always worth it. It's always worth it because you get friends like you, right? I'm looking good on this podcast. I mean, I'm looking good on it daily, but I'm looking real good on this podcast, right? And that's the standard for me. It's like, yo, I'm not going on every podcast. You know what I'm saying? I do get inquiries. I'm not going on every podcast. Standard. I'm not doing every video. Standard. I'm not putting torp on every gig that I get. Standard. Right? There's things that are me, and then there's things that are just like jobs and gigs. So I don't know if I answered your question about life.
No, yes.
I be digressing.
No,
but we here.
No, we're doing it. We're coming up on the 15 minutes.
Perfect. I keep looking down.
Perfectly timed.
Yeah, we good.
It's great. But no, you totally did, because that to me is like, that's everything I wanted us to kind of like. Again, these 15-minute Fridays, they're made for the rambles, right? They're
Oh my
made for me,
goodness.
for digressing
Man,
everywhere, every
your
which
editing
way.
skills got to be nice, bro. Because I know you're going to have to piece it together to make it sound good.
Here's the trick. Most of the time, I don't edit anything.
let it
It's
roll?
just like, hey, you know what? I know we had a good conversation, so
Boom.
that's what's going to be shared. But
love it.
you really did. I mean, you did answer the question. You said everything that I feel like is important for people to hear. It is about, like, it's setting that standard.
Right.
You know, when we're talking about the figurative bar, it's the standard that you want in your life, and how that
110%.
feeds into career, how that
Everything.
feeds into relationships, friendships, the way you treat yourself.
Exactly.
I don't know if, and even tapping into some of the social media talk and all that sort of stuff, like, I don't know if a lot of people take the time to identify where they want their bar to be set.
Right. A lot of people are just doing it for the likes. Let's get the likes. And it's so crazy because shout out to everybody, that's checking me out on social media. My Twitter, I was able to bring that up to like 40,000 followers on there. And recently, I'm about to hit 6K on Instagram. I got in the game late there, but we building up. We going to be there soon. But one thing that I've noticed is like, okay, William, like the series that I put out recently, right? It's been doing well. But, man, I'm over here sounding like a frog. It's like, it's because I'm drinking my water, y'all. I'm drinking my water. But, no, like, I got to the point now where it's kind of like, all right, we're getting likes on these, but all right, what is it about, William? Like, what do you want to do? I love these things, and I'm going to keep on knocking them out, but it's like, William, don't forget the standard. Mm-hmm. You want to make movies. A couple of people have come up to me. It's like, oh, is this your thing? I was like, no, it's a thing. I do many things. This is a thing. And it's just like I have to remember that and not get caught up in social media, our society saying, run with this, it's hot. And remember my purpose. Remember the things that I have on the list and keep working towards those things. So just to talk to your part about like people, and I'm not saying that people aren't paying attention, but it's easy to fall into it. Yep. You know what I'm saying? The system of social media, it's easy, 110%. Once you get a formula and it's working, you start getting them likes and you start to get that little euphoric feeling, that shot of dopamine. Oh, they like my stuff. But do you like your stuff? Right? Are you tired of your stuff? Because at that point, you need to remember. Don't be so lost that you can't identify who you really are. Remember your standard.
Yep. And I think that translates whether it's social media or career or life itself.
Yeah,
I think those same rules apply for everything. Is identify that bar, identify the journey of growth that you're on to reach that bar. Identify, are you getting too comfortable with where your bar currently is? Right. Are you uncomfortable with wanting it to change? Or maybe the discomfort that you're feeling is the fact that you're actually right now, even if you don't know it, pushing your bar higher.
Right.
Because that's when, you know what I mean? That's when change is happening.
110%.
When you're feeling that discomfort of, okay, some of these relationships that I've had, and I'm talking like friendships or anything, it's like you can maybe identify those things.
Right.
Like, okay, we're not connecting like we used to.
Right.
Or the clients that I was talking to, man, they keep asking me to lower my price.
Right,
and,
right.
what's going on? Why am I attracting these certain things?
Right.
Maybe that's an identifier of, okay, we're starting to enter this uncomfortable territory.
Right.
And that's because it's time to raise that bar
Right.
a little bit higher than where it was.
110%.
You got anything left that you want to say to leave the people with before we wrap this one up?
I love y'all. You already know what it is. Final thought, trust your gut and trust God. Like, we kings. You a king, right? So 110%. If you ain't heard it lately, I'm going to tell you, right? One king to another, right? And I say that to everybody. Everybody that's on this rock, they have the potential, right? Trust your gut. Trust that you're worth it. Right? Because once you begin to have that trust and you start moving in that trust, people really start to recognize it. It's really crazy, because I say this humbly, but like once you start to see yourself as fly, of course there's work that goes into that, but the world starts to see it the same way. You know what I'm saying? It's like truth or lie, whatever. If you hear it enough times, you begin to believe it. You believe it, and the world does it too, right? If somebody's lying about being a star, or not even a star, let's say a good person, right? And they keep pushing that and pushing that and pushing that and pushing that, people are going to believe it, right? be the good person, right? And work on that. Continue to put the time in, read, work out, eat the right foods, keep the right people around you. And then the world will see you as you see yourself, if that makes sense.
It does.
Standards.
I love it.
Standards.
I love it. Figure out where you want to set that bar, work towards
Every
getting
day.
it there, and work to never lower it once you set it.
Yeah.
That's a 15-minute Friday, my friend.
Love.
William, where can they
Yes.
find you around the internet if anybody wants to come talk to you or check out all this cool stuff we've been talking about?
Okay. Check me out on all social handles at Will_Fairbanks. You can check out Torp, all works Torp, at torp.life, www.torp.life. Also on Instagram at Torpros. That's at TORPROS.
Boom.
Blessing. Love.
There it is, another
we are.
15-minute Friday down.
Man, I'm getting my reps.